live. Yeah, a warm welcome from me to our new episode of our Trend 2 series. My name is Natascha Zeljko, and I'm the co-founder of CURAZE. It is, so to say, the mother of our initiative, CIRCULAZE. Yeah, just let me say you some words about our initiative, what this is all about. So actually, my co-founder, Klaus Schuster, and me, we started CIRCULAZE last summer, and it's been an amazing journey so far. Our goal is to connect all relevant players in the field of circular economy. These are foremost the startups and the corporates, of course, but also investors, experts, multipliers, also young talents from university. And that's why we started and built CIRCULAZE as an ecosystem. And we created, after starting last year, and it was very successful, this year we created a whole bunch of new formats, such as, for example, CIRCULAZE on tour. This is a sort of a field trip where we really go in person. We travel to exciting projects in the field of circular economy. And the first one we started end of April. We were at BMW in the recycling and dismantle center, and it was really a great and really unforgettable experience, what we learned there. Another topic or another format we are also doing on a regular basis is our exchange. This is a format where we invite an expert to one specific topic, and we offer you, our audience, to discuss this topic. And the next one is actually coming up next week. It will be on June 22nd, and we invited the executive director of the BDI, Bund der Deutschen Industrie, for the initiative of circular economy. It is Dr. Klaas Oehlmann, and he is a really, really great expert on the field of regulations. And as we know, everybody, every corporate, every company is struggling at the moment with the regulation topics. Yeah, and number 3, not to forget, we are really about to organize our 2 big events, which will be upcoming in November this year, November 7 and 8. For one, it's the award night, the CIRCULAZE Award. And the second is our conference format, the CIRCULAZE Summit, which will take part on November 8. And yeah, we are about to organize all the panels, keynotes, the side sessions, the fireside chats, but also our topic rooms. This is what the name of our master classes. Yeah, so a lot of work, but also fun, and stay tuned for that. We will link you the link to the website of the CIRCULAZE Summit in the chat, so you can pick it out from there. So this is the end promised of the advertising slot. Without further ado, I would like to start the virtual trend tour. It's actually the 5th in line in 2023. And yeah, we have invited today 2 outstanding startups, and we are talking about waste and how to avoid waste. And the startups are from a very international setting this evening. One is Mimbly, who is joining us from Gothenburg in Sweden. The other one is ReCircle from India, Mumbai. You will get to know the 2 founders and the 2 representatives of the startups in some minutes. Just a small info, after each presentation of the startups, you will have the chance to get in direct exchange with the 2 of them. So you can prepare your questions. You can also post your comments in the section you will see on the bottom where you can post comments, and we can ask the questions directly. Yeah, and as usual, we have invited a keynote speaker to give us a general overview and some facts and figures and infos about the latest trends. And I'm very happy that we have here Dr. Diana Born. Diana Born is the partner of sustainability strategy at KEAP, which is a strategy consultancy with an holistic approach, or how they put that on their website, for entrepreneurship. Yeah, so very happy to have Diana here. Diana is a climate coach. She's a circular business model enthusiast, and she is a true marine conservationalist, or a difficult word. Who would be better to set the tone for this session, as this is about waste and how to preserve our planet, and especially the oceans. So very happy to have you here, Diana. Yeah, a warm welcome from our side.
Thank you very much. I'm also very happy to be here. I quickly start sharing my screen. Can you see it already?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect. Then thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and talk about waste management and how I got there after my PhD and postdoc, being really into marine conservation. I wanted to restore coral reefs in Southeast Asia. So I thought how to go about to restore a reef, actually. And what we figured out on this island in Malaysia was that reefs are, of course, damaged. And we, of course, have to figure out first what were the factors that had damaged it originally. And one of the key learning was that, of course, we have global warming. That is, of course, one factor. But many reefs actually suffer from wastewater that enters the bays unfiltered, or waste like ghost nets and plastics, which of course damage the reefs as well. So we actually really had to start with waste management and work closely together with local businesses, with the local community, to start collecting the waste from land, from the ocean, but also start figuring out how we can handle wastewater just entering the ocean. So that was an exciting time. And starting with that, I really want to get to the root first, the waste. And when we look at some figures, we produce a lot of waste. To put it into some numbers, if we, for example, look at the US, there is nearly 1 metric ton produced per person per year. This is really per person the maximum amount in a country. Of course, there's other regions that produce in absolute amounts much more, but regarding consumption, this is quite a top. We do have a large waste trend. So for example, in municipal solid waste, we will have a large increase by about 70% until 2050. And at the moment, the highest growth rate regarding waste is e-waste. And where does that come from? Drivers are, of course, the growing population, but also people moving to cities, so urbanization, but of course also our consumption and actually production patterns. If we now look a little bit closer into what is actually waste, I wrote some figures from the Circularity Gap report. And overall, we produce 70 gigatons of waste a year. That is, to make it a little bit more tangible, roughly the weight of 12 million elephants. And out of these, we have waste that is emitted into the air, for example, greenhouse gases, but also other gases. We have waste that is dispersed, which means it is just dumped into the environment. And that can be clothing, packaging, but of course also wastewater. And we have waste that is actually somehow collected. And most of it does, unfortunately, just end up in landfill, where it is basically left to rot. There is actually a quarter of that collected waste that is recycled. I find it very impressive that the Circularity Gap report actually lists mining waste separate. And this is, about a quarter of the collected waste, which is very closely related with the linear economy processes, which heavily focus on extraction of raw materials. So there is a strong correlation. We have some unregistered waste, some is incinerated, And no, incinerating does not mean that we retrieve energy from it, because the energy we retrieve is listed under recovered, which is just 1%. So really a lot of waste, and we do quite little with it. So the blue marked waste categories are the ones that actually contribute to our circularity. And in 2022, our economy was just 9% circular. If we look at waste management to actually keep this problem in check, what is waste management in the first place? So we are talking about ways to collect waste, to transport it, and very exciting from a technological, sorting it. Because from sorting, of course, we hope to be able to reuse or at least recycle and recover as much as we can. And the rest we have to store and monitor so that really the impacts on health and environment are minimized. And here a good example would, for example, be nuclear waste, which we of course have to store for thousands of years. The market is worth 1.3 trillion US dollars, and it is going to grow more than 50% until 2030. The drivers here are, of course, again, a rising population. We have, unfortunately, a linear economic trend and also regulations. What is very interesting about waste management is that it is highly diverse. It is a very fragmented market. Even living in Germany, there is different ways of waste management you find here, and not even speaking about different continents and so on. So, and in some places, not even any waste management infrastructure. So there's really large potential now, looking from the startup perspective, to create diverse business models, to interact with diverse stakeholders, and really, provide solutions for a large problem. And one of the problems is that waste management alone is not going to be a solution for our health and society, including our planetary health. Because when we look at some more figures, and I promise I will say a few numbers after that, as I already mentioned, we have a decrease of circularity that was observed by the Circularity Gap Report over the last 5 years. We reduced circularity from 9% to 7%. And the reason for that is that we, of course, increased consumption and production, and mostly by extracting more materials from the environment. And the problem is that waste already, through its effects, health effects, for example, effects on our planet, already costs us more than 1.4 billion every day. And this is already a figure that is very narrowly focused on climate change. But climate change is not only the only planetary boundary that is breached through waste production. We have at least 5 planetary boundaries that are, or where waste contributes significantly, which are, and when you look at the top right, we are talking about novel entities which are in a big red zone, so have broken the planetary boundaries. And here we are talking about plastic pollution and chemicals in the environment. At the top left, you see the biosphere integrity. Of course, it has consequences on the biosphere. And at the bottom, you see a very big contributor, which is the phosphorus and nitrogen content in our soils and also water due to fertilizers. So waste management alone will not help us to solve our problems that we already face. So what can we do? And this is now where really the work that I'm doing nowadays, not restoring reefs, but actually going more to the roots of the problem, comes into play. So one thing we wondered about is how can we bring waste management together with a circular economy? If you look at the top, the linear economy approach, we see a process that really takes from the environment, produces and then uses products that then get disposed. So we have large amounts of waste. And in the bottom, you see a circular approach where really the take part and the dispose part is reduced, or at least the dispose part is thought in a way that you can use waste to create energy, or the waste can dematerialize itself. So we have a lot less actual waste to handle, and we focus really on the phases where we can design and produce wonderful things we need in our life or use them. And one important connection that needs to be made is really to avoid creating locked-in linear approaches by just optimizing waste management, but also, and also in one focus, making it available for the circular approaches by diverse principles, like using it for recycling or upcycling. And so here really, again, trying to use the systems view, or really seeing the business in the systems context. This is what we call entrepreneurship, as Natascha already mentioned. And we can take that even further. We would say that waste management competencies are actually critical in circular business models, because, and this is what you see at the right-hand side, this is one of the focus that we do. We want to help companies to create these circular business models and really view them and their business model in the entire system. So then, of course, you start with a circular product design, and then you have to create the product in a circular and mostly using renewable energy way. And then you continue after that with actually providing your function or your service to the customer. The customer can then use it, reuse it, share it, or repair it, or you repair it. And what is really the waste management competencies that are required in circular business models are at the bottom. You really then need to think about how you can collect and sort the products or that have been used to figure out what is broken and what is intact and can directly be reused. You have to ensure remanufacturing and let products enter back into the cycle in the highest possible value, basically. And using this systemic view, we think that businesses can really profit in many, many more ways than just in pure economic KPIs. And there is, of course, also economic KPIs that will profit, like decreased costs and fewer supply chain risks. You keep your products in your own business. You do not basically sell them. This is one approach in circular business models. You do reduce regulatory risks because they do increase a lot globally at the moment. You contribute to health and planetary boundaries and respect them. You have great opportunities in engaging local communities and authorities in creating solutions together, which of course is not only internally, but also externally, something that strengthens the brand, the corporate ID, and also the competitiveness of the company. You can, if you wish, and actually many companies I was interacting with in Southeast Asia were really, really keen to restore ecosystems and restore reefs. So you can definitely win also companies for providing ecosystem services in some way. But of course, you have many further advantages like recycling critical materials. You get more efficient in using materials. You motivate and retain your employees. You retain customers in more ways. You really start to rethink your product and rather offer a function than a physical product, and you can by that really also create new markets. So these are lots of KPIs that contribute to a more general development of the business, but also of the society as a whole. and to show you at least a few more numbers, again, from the Circularity Gap report, that are based on what can circularity actually contribute to reduce the overshoot across planetary boundaries. I don't want to go into details about all numbers, but let's pick as an example the nitrogen cycle. So really figuring out how we can develop solutions to reduce the nitrogen content in waters and soils, and using them in circular approaches or reduce the use can help us to reduce the overshoot that is now at about 60% and get below the boundary by 3%. So this hopefully gives you some motivation. And I want to end and say, really, we need brave ideas, and not only brave ideas, but also people and businesses that get going, that are brave actors and dive into the complex systems which will benefit all of us. And with that, I am very happy to answer some questions. Feel free to stay in touch. Have a look at our website. The QR code is linked. We also have some inspiring circular businesses in our entrepreneurship blog. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your comments and questions. Thanks. I hand back to Natascha.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. This was really impressive. Yeah, to get, because it starts with numbers, right? If you can only change what you measure. So this was really very impressive, and sometimes also scaring at the same time, because the numbers are bad. And what I found really difficult is that the number of the circular, the part of circularity is decreasing, even if we talk about how important this is, but now it's not going up, it's going down. So we see there's still way to go. And what do you think? What could be the biggest decisive factor in this matter? How can we tackle the problem? And how important is education, for example? Because we now see numbers, but this is perhaps for us in the so-called global north. It's impressive, right? Perhaps somebody from the global south would see it differently.
Totally. So it is really a systems approach that is needed. We need, of course, education. And as you've seen, we've set up recycling bins on the island. And of course, we have to talk with basically everybody in the community so that they actually use them and why they're there. And still, it takes a lot of time to finally get it going. And I'm sure that from ReCircle, we will hear very exciting stories about that too, that you really need to approach all levels. You have to engage the community, you have to engage the businesses in a region, you also have to engage the authorities. And it's really a complex topic, but if you get it going, it can be so amazing, and you can actually create ecosystems, circular ecosystems with it. So it is definitely worth the effort, I would say.
Absolutely. And that's why it's also so important to have these platforms and this ecosystem, and to exchange the ideas and to learn from each other and see how we can really collaborate on this level. This is really the beauty of it. Perhaps one last question. What do you think, or could you explain a good case you saw recently? What gives you hope, perhaps? So I see this worked out fantastically, and perhaps that could be a blueprint also for others to learn from.
Yeah, I mean, there's really exciting business ideas, and that really gives me hope that we really use innovative solution and they just pop out. We had a problem to recycle certain plastics for a while and in the same condition, and suddenly it works, and you can renew a shoe again and again from the same material, for example. Or really businesses that come from like traditional fields like processing sugar, who have really managed to minimize the waste per ton of product they produce, of food product to really a minimum, to like a kilogram. So there is really great examples out there how you can also reinvent and rethink your waste as a new business model, how it can be a great resource for another industry, for example. So it really gives you options for so much symbiosis. Also, if you look in different areas, for example, industry parks, where one industry produces energy that can then be used again as energy in another industry next to it. So there is great progress, and we just have to really make it more popular and inspire others to take over.
Yeah, super. And that's what we do. So we try to do at least.
Exactly.
And yeah, so
great work.
There's a quote which I like very much, is "It's too late to be a pessimist," and this is for sure true. We have just to move ahead and see what we can do to get the things ahead and to move ahead. Yeah, so thanks, Diana, for your wonderful keynote and presentation. Happy to have you here, and hope to see you also on our CIRCULAZE Summit in November. That's for sure, and we will talk in between. It's still and this is good for us. It's still some months to go. Thanks for now.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation.
Thanks. Have a good time. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Yeah. That was Diana Born from KUP, and yeah, and she already named it, or she already mentioned it. We have here a great founder and CEO he's from ReCircle, and Rahul Nainani. Sorry, I always struggle with names, even with my own. Rahul Nainani, as I told you, he's a co-founder and CEO, and he's located in Mumbai, in India. And you are 3.5 hours ahead in India at the moment, from our perspective, from Munich. So for you, it's already evening. For us, it's late afternoon. Yeah, so welcome, Rahul. So happy to have you.
Yes, thank you, Natascha. Good evening and good afternoon to everybody that's joined in. Yes, I'm going to dive into my presentation. Is that fine, Natascha?
That's completely fine. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Just give me a second. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. So yes, hi. So thank you, CIRCULAZE, for having me and giving me the opportunity to showcase the work that we do at ReCircle. So I think Diana has set the context quite well in terms of identifying that waste is a large problem, and we need to rethink or relook at it. And I think that's how our journey started with ReCircle as well. The first thing that we realized is that we need to rethink the word waste itself, because as soon as you think of waste, you think of there's nothing that can be done with it. So what we look at ReCircle is that what most people see as waste, we see them as resources. And we're on a mission to ensure that resources are not wasted. And that's how we're reimagining and rethinking waste as a whole. Now, waste is a large problem, and more so in India. India is the 5th largest plastic waste generator, as well as the 2nd largest contributor to ocean plastics. But like I said, we're rethinking and we're relooking at the sector itself. And we don't see this as a problem, but an opportunity to make a large impact, to impact the lives of to a large extent of the informal waste collection network that exists in India, while giving the responsibility to the businesses that we work with. So what we primarily do at ReCircle is that we believe that the biggest power and the biggest role that needs to be played in the ecosystem is with the businesses, as they are the ones that produce this waste. So what we're developing is we're helping businesses to stop plastic pollution by taking part in one of the services that we offer. India has a large informal and fragmented waste supply chain. So what we aim to do is to bring traceability and transparency in this informal supply chain, while working with the informal sector that actually helps us collect this waste, and providing an opportunity to businesses to either offset their plastic footprint by going plastic neutral, or to work towards introducing ethically collected recycled plastic back into the supply chain of their brands, thereby closing the loop on plastics itself. How we're doing this is that we've developed our own proprietary platform called Climber One, which brings in transparency in the supply chain, where we've got the different stakeholders to come together on a single piece, on a single supply chain itself. Now, on one end, we've got our collection partners. So in India, there's a large informal sector that works on collection of this waste, works on collection of dry waste itself. We are currently focusing on the plastic supply chain, and there's large supply chain that collects this plastic waste. But these people are essentially scrap dealers and aggregators that work without any job security, dignity, or even minimum wages for that matter of fact. So what we have done is that we identify these scrap dealers and waste pickers that work across India. We onboard them as a part of our system and as a part of our supply chain as a collection partner. Now, these collection partners, every time that they're dispatching the vehicle, we bring in the traceability data in terms of what is the volume, what is the quality, what is the quantity, geolocations of the material itself, along with a set of traceability documents, which is being tracked through our supply chain. The collector is dispatching this material and then it is sent to a registered recycler or a registered processor of this plastic waste. This whole material that is being tracked through our supply chain is then sold as plastic credits to businesses to help them comply with the extended producer responsibility obligation, which is a compliance that has come up in India, as well as to meet their sustainable development goals. What we've essentially done is that given them transparency and accountability in an otherwise informal and fragmented sector, so businesses can actually see what the work is happening and ensure that the money that they're paying for these credits is being transferred to the collectors and the recyclers that actually help us collect this material and process this material, rather than it getting lost in the ecosystem. So that's what we've done in terms of building supply chain. So bringing in essentially a traceable reverse supply chain for plastics. Now, this credits is then used for businesses in the dashboard where they're able to generate reports. They're also able to use this data for their compliance and SDG reporting while having full transparency and traceability across the supply chain itself. We have two kinds of credits. So for large businesses, which are required to comply under the extended producer responsibility obligation, we give them the compliance-based credits, which is fully applicable which is fully compliant with the local laws. Along with that, we've also got a lot of these smaller businesses that are doing this as a part of their voluntary activity. So we've also got voluntary plastic credits where we help businesses to right from calculating their footprint to make sure that they're collecting it and then also communicating their impact to their consumers. So we're working with large brands like Unilever, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Mondelez, as well as some smaller homegrown niche brands that have sustainability at their core of their business itself. So we've helped the large and the small businesses to help them comply with the credits that we're working with. To give you context of the scale of what we're working at, so we recovered more than 100,000 tons of material over the last 7 years, out of which 75,000 tons of material has been collected in the last year alone. This is equivalent of collecting almost 9,000 kgs of waste every hour, every day, from the 300 plus locations through which our collection network actually helps us collect this material, while impacting the lives of 3,000 plus informal waste workers that today have dignity for the work that they put in. Now, our vision for ReCircle is to work towards closing the loop. Now, while we are working towards circularity, but we also aim to bring in ethical sourcing and responsible sourcing across the supply chain itself. And I see this as a very important point of bringing in circularity, as most of the Southeast Asian countries and the developing countries where majority of the waste is being collected is through the informal sectors. It is required that we identify and dignify the work that they do. And then they are getting the benefits for what they are actually doing. Because at the end of it, these are the people that help us, that are cleaning up our trash after us. So our aim is to not just close the loop, but ensure that there is fair wages, proper working conditions, and they're getting the access to the relevant government scheme for doing the work, for cleaning up our mess indirectly. So our aim is to collect different stakeholders in the ecosystem through our platform and through the different services that we provide, thereby closing the loop and also working towards ethical sourcing of the material itself. Now, currently, what we do is that we track this material from collection to recycling and ensure that this is being sold as plastic credits to the businesses. But working towards our goal of ethical circularity, our aim is to now track this material post-recycling back into the supply chain of the brands that we work with as ethically collected recycled plastic, thereby closing the loop on plastic, also providing the traceability and transparency data for the material that is being collected. How we envision to do this is to have a small QR code in the back of the packaging where consumers and brand owners can actually scan the QR and see who was the material, who was the collector, where was it collected from, what was the kind of material, how did it get recycled, or did it then finally get made into a new product from which you are buying off from the shelves of the supermarket. So essentially bringing accountability across the supply chain and leaving no room for greenwashing or anything of those sorts, by ensuring that there is full accountability and transparency in the supply chain, and brands also have an idea of where it's coming in from. And at the same time, the consumers can also track the entire footprint of this. Now, we're a young and dynamic team that has multidisciplinary aspects and is covering different parts of the business. But one thing that is motivated is our ambition towards closing the loop, as well as working towards cleaning up the larger problem for India itself. We've also been fortunate enough to work with a lot of global funders that have bought into and have endeavored our vision and have helped us scale our business. Along with that, we've also got supporters on our way that help us through advisory and networks as well. Now, the problem that we're looking to solve is extremely large, and we understand that very well. Now, to move towards to bring towards an actual impact in the ecosystem, we have to collaborate with across the system, across the supply chain itself. So I urge people that are here and as well as that are going to be looking at this conversation later, that if you're a brand owner, reach out to us. We're here to help you to start your sustainability journey in terms of going neutral, or also in terms of bringing in recycled plastic back in your supply chain. Policymakers, advocates, we're here to be part of you as well. Recyclers that are looking at expanding in India or looking at feedstock to come in from India, we're here to work with you as well. We're growing business and also raising money. So if you're investors and looking at investing, we're here as well. And if you're just here to have a conversation about sustainability and how we can learn together and use our learnings to grow, we're happy to have that conversation as well. Now, over the last 7-8 minutes that I've started my presentation, ReCircle's collection partners have recovered more than 1,000 kgs of waste in real time. So there is a solution. I urge you to come and take a part of it. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions, or if there's anything that can be reached out on the email ID or also on LinkedIn. So I'll hand it over back to you, Natascha. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, I'm back. Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. Very, very impressive. Especially what I like is the traceability. This is very smart to really see the impact that it has. Super cool. And we do have already a first question from our audience. I will just read it. In what ways can companies work with ReCircle on circularity?
Awesome. So we are looking at the plastic supply chain right now, but slowly expanding into the other materials as well. So if you're a business that is looking at sourcing recycled plastic granules and ensuring that the impact of it is being trickled down to the collectors, as well as we're getting traceability, we're happy to have that conversation and help you source the recycled plastics along with full traceability for what we work with. So yeah, that's one way that we can work with in terms of circularity. But if you want to just get started with your work, we're happy to also help you go offset your plastic footprint and showcase that to your consumers.
Okay, this is already beginning. And I have also a question, because you are active for now, when I got it right, on the Asian market, especially India. Do you plan, or do you want to also expand your activities to Europe?
So we are already working with some European companies on sourcing of this plastic waste as well as granules for recycling in Europe. So we are, since most of the waste across Europe, US, and Middle East is getting shipped to Southeast Asia for processing. So we're actually being able to process and give you the granules as per the specifications that are required, and we're exporting that back into Europe for use of to use it for recycled plastic. Also, offset and neutrality is pretty much globally agnostic. So we're happy to also collect back and help you go neutral for the waste that you're working with.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and perhaps another question would be, what impact can businesses make by going plastic neutral with ReCircle?
Yeah, so there's a multi-fold impact that anybody that chooses to go plastic neutral with us The first is, of course, the environmental impact, which is basically ensuring that the waste is not reaching our landfills and oceans and actually going into circular economy and is going for recycling. The second is that a portion of the proceeds also go in terms of social upliftments of the sector itself. So in terms of the collectors that help us collect this material, it's actually going to make sure that they're getting paid bare minimum wages, also fair trade. So you're actually not just impacting the environment, but you're also impacting the people that are working in terms of collecting this waste itself. And then the larger impact is in terms of capacity building of the sector. So the sector itself in Southeast Asia and not just India requires investments to be put in so that it can be formalized. So with the funds that we receive, we also work towards formalization of the sector itself.
Okay. Yeah, very well. So a lot of good reasons and motivations to get plastic neutral. Yeah, thanks a lot, Rahul. It was fantastic having you here. And whoever wants to reach out to Rahul, he shared his email, or also reach out to us. We can connect you for sure. Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Natascha. Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So that was Rahul, and we have our next, and in this case, normally we have 3 startups. Today we have 2 startups. Get ready for the next in line, which is Mimbly from Gothenburg in Sweden. And we have with us today evening Natalie Walla, I guess, in Swedish.
Walla, yes.
Walla, yes. And she's a communications designer of Mimbly. And Mimbly, by the way, was also part, or was one of our top 20 startups last year, because we did already the award last year, and you were among the top startups 2022. And yeah, we are big fans since then from Mimbly, because you invented something really smart. It's you call it the Mimbox, the system. Yeah. Which it's a box, and it's in Technic inside, and it does it monitors, analyzes, and profiles the water during each wash cycle, so it can be reused. And if I see the news in the latest or in the last couple of weeks, we see that water is going to be a big problem. We are not used to that in Europe so much, but we see, for example, in Spain and France, that we will really hit big problems. So it's great to have solutions for this. And yeah, I'm keen to learn more about Mimbly. Thanks. And Natalie, the stage is yours.
Hi, so hello everyone. I'm Natalie and I handle communications at Mimbly. I'm currently in Gothenburg in Sweden. And yeah, so at Mimbly, we design and develop sustainable laundry solutions. We want to take care of the world's water resources because water is one of our most valuable natural resources. But at the same time, it's one of the most wasted natural resources and mistreated also. So actually 25% of all the water consumption in an average household goes towards doing laundry. Warm water that is full of microplastics is released every time we wash. So one wash can actually release 9 million microfibers, and many of these microfibers come from synthetic clothing that we use. So this can include anything from gym wear to jumpers that keep us warm in the winter, to cleaning utilities that we need to wash. So these microplastics go through the treatment plants and they end up contaminating and polluting our waters and oceans, unfortunately. Looking at microplastics in the oceans, about 35% of primary microplastics come from synthetic textiles. These microplastics bind to toxins and pesticides and get consumed by plankton and fish and many marine species. And then in the end, they can even be consumed by you and me. And it's actually been shown that humans can consume about 1 credit card's worth of microplastics every single week. So in terms of water scarcity as well, in 2023, around 2 billion people don't use safely managed drinking water, and a staggering 5 billion by 2050 will live in areas of the world that experience water stress annually. So knowing all of this, at Mimbly, we asked ourselves, do we really need to use drinking water to be able to wash our clothes, since it's such a precious resource? And after countless hours of prototyping, iterating, collaborating, we found that the answer is no. We just need clean enough water to be able to wash. So without compromising the quality of the wash, we made it our mission to design solutions which use water more efficiently, and in turn take better care of the world's water resources. The first one of these solutions is this one here called the Mimbox. You can see the latest version of it here that we began producing about a year ago and are now in the process of rolling it out. So the Mimbox is an add-on solution for washing machines. It recycles up to 70% of the water. It captures microplastics from the synthetic clothing and materials. And actually, as a bonus, it saves energy and consequently lowers CO2 emissions. And it works something like this. So the system consists of 2 units, the Mimbox and a pre-filter tank. It's connected through water connections and to power. So it can actually be connected to 2 washing machines at the same time to maximize savings. And all the water from the laundry machines passes through the Mimbox. It's first filtered from all the microplastics, so they're removed. And then the water is analyzed to determine the water quality. The water that's sufficient is stored in the Mimbox. We have a patented antibacterial system inside the Mimbox, so water can be safely stored. And then the next time you wash, the recycled water can be used again. If the quality is not sufficient, the filtered water goes down to the sewer. So when the washing machine is asking for the water, the Mimbox responds and feeds it with recycled water. Once in a while, the Mimbox indicates that the microplastics need to be disposed of, and this container is emptied. So the Mimbox works with all types of washing machines, regardless of brand and size. It's an add-on solution, which we believe in itself promotes circularity, because as an add-on, we update existing laundry facilities to become more sustainable. It prolongs the lifespan of existing machines and encourages customers to keep and work with the resources that they already have, which is super important to us. In terms of customers, we've chosen to focus on companies and segments that wash a lot. These often have common laundry rooms. And then recently we've actually started expanding to other segments, such as the ones below there. So customers with kind of big laundry facilities like this are really important to us because, again, it encourages circularity, because here tenants and people share laundry facilities instead of just buying their own washing machine and then maybe it doesn't have such a long lifespan. And here's a couple of examples of our customers. They range from small private companies to larger governmental associated companies. We recently signed a Nordic frame agreement with Core, who is one of the largest and leading FM providers in the Nordics. And some of you, since we're broadcasting from Germany, you might recognize Stena Line or Stena. Stena Fastigheter is a branch off of them, and they're quite a big housing company in Sweden. But we're also Stena Line recently testing the Mimbox in this marine environment, so on their ferries, because it's an environment where water is, of course, limited and circularity is really needed. So whilst doing all of these tasks, the Mimbox is also connected. So on the software side, customers can log into this unique dashboard. It's called the Mimboard. And here they can see their savings. They can see how much water they've saved and microplastics they've saved from entering the oceans. And also on every Mimbox, there is this QR code, which tenants or whoever washes with the Mimbox can scan, and they can see the direct savings of that particular Mimbox. We produce the Mimbox locally, something that we're really proud of, at a production site close to us in Gothenburg. It's called Prodma. It used to be an Electrolux factory. And we just believe it works really great for us because it allows fast implementation. So here they can start producing straight away. We can go there, change things, components, etc. And we have currently 16 approved patents on the Mimbox. So current installations. At the moment, we have more than 50 Mimboxes installed, and we're planning for a total of 100 installed by the end of summer. This is what the Mimbox looks like in its natural environment. So this is actually one of CORE's cleaning sites where they wash a lot of microfiber mops, cloths, and cleaning equipment. And here's another Mimbox in a natural environment. And this one's actually in Copenhagen, in Denmark's National Library, because we just expanded and made our first installations outside of Sweden. So this was the first in Copenhagen. And then secondly in Oslo with the Norwegian state at their Security and Service Organization. So the impact we've made so far, we've saved over 180,000 liters of water and about 17 kilos of microplastics that otherwise would have gone into our waterways and oceans and polluted them. But to have a big impact, we need to have a lot of systems out on the market. And with 30,000 Mimboxes, this is the kind of impact we can have. It might just look like a bunch of numbers right now. So to show you what the equivalent of this is roughly, it's water savings equivalent to 300 million bathtubs and 270 million plastic credit cards. And none of this impact that we have made and we can make would be possible without our amazing team. We're 15 counting now and growing. We're really diverse, and what I love so much about being part of it is that everyone here is just so passionate about sustainability, water, and the ocean. We all have a connection to it in some way, and that's what kind of drives us forward. So yeah, whether you want to collaborate or like you have any questions, you're interested in the Mimbox or any other ideas, we're here to talk about it. We love anyone to join us on this journey to revolutionize the laundry industry. And we're currently in our investment round as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for providing this super cool presentation. So I already mentioned that we are big fans from the beginning, and it's so cool to see how things develop and move ahead. Super cool. Also, I didn't know that you produce in Sweden, also interesting. And what I always like is to have this, to have an imagination how much water we save. The bath tubes I liked a lot. So as I said, we have a big problem with water at the moment. And I see, 1 second, we have already 2 questions incoming. So first question is, do you believe that there will be some kind of regulations regarding filters and washing machines, for instance, by the EU?
Yeah, so actually in France, they've made a regulation, I think it's by 2025, that all newly produced washing machines there need to be fitted with a microplastic filter. This is like obviously brilliant news, but we're kind of hoping that this is going to produce a domino effect, so other countries will follow, and hopefully, yeah, it will. I mean, that's the best solution in the end, when governments enforce these kind of tech and things that can actually help the planet in the end, because it's putting less pressure on companies and consumers when it should really just be a normal thing to have these filters anyway. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's true. The one are fearing, the others are hoping, but I think for getting circular and more sustainable, it needs to be done. You're completely right. Another question also coming up from the audience, what happens to the microplastics after they are filtered actually?
Yes, good question. So the Mimbox brings the microplastics out of the system, and then actually they are put into waste, so combustible waste. In Sweden, 100% of waste is combustible. This isn't the ideal solution for us, and we're looking into ways to repurpose the microplastics in the future. For example, recycling, or maybe creating new materials and items from them. But it's really complicated. So to do that, we're going to need like more resources, but it's definitely in our plans. And we kind of see it in the perspective now that like not many people are doing anything towards this problem today. So we can do something, and we're looking into how we can make it more circular in the future. And yeah, it's definitely on our agenda.
Yeah, definitely. Even small steps are steps. And talking about future, what are your future plans actually? And the second question, which is a little bit related to that, do you plan also to offer, because what I learned, this is more for institutional or for B2B use, your product. Do you also plan to go into the consumer market with Mimbly?
Yeah, so our future plans, we have many, but we kind of want to be an enabler in this smart laundry segment. So we're kind of bridging the gap between white goods, textiles, and detergent companies. And we kind of want to be an enabler, kind of a spider in the web between these industries, and like collaborating with current actors and things to create more solutions. In terms of a consumer solution, it's definitely something we've thought about, because the market is so big for it. And obviously we believe that consumers can create impact as well. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for a consumer solution in the future from us.
Yes, we will definitely. I would like to have something like this. If I
Yeah.
70% saving water, that would be already something. Yeah, thanks a lot, Natalie. Thanks for taking your time. Thanks for the great presentation. And yeah, happy to see you soon on any channel, or perhaps also you're welcome to join us on our CIRCULAZE Summit. But for now, I say goodbye and have a great evening. And thanks a lot again.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, Natalie. Yeah. That was it. That was our 5th virtual trend tour for 2023. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, and stay tuned on all our channels. We will inform you on everything going on around our events, but also for our next formats. So yeah, we would be happy you joined, and wish you a nice evening out there wherever you are. Thanks for listening in, and goodbye. Bye-bye.